Hey, rSpace fam. Today we've got a wild ride about a fiancé of over 4 years who was caught doing meth, cheating, and trying to bin a baby on the OP. Our story begins in spring of 2016 when I, currently 20 male, met a girl we'll call Rosie, currently 19 female. Well, me and Rosie immediately hit it off and began dating. Rosie was a shy and kind girl, but she had her demons. One thing that was bad about her is that she always let the people around her influence her decisions. She also immediately became extremely jealous and forbid me from hanging out with female friends and going out to parties unless I was with family. I said fine, but that I expected the same from her. Honestly, looking back, the relationship became toxic pretty quickly. Her jealous nature and possessiveness eventually made me become the same way. Eventually, it led to worse things down the line. I always tried to understand her because her father abandoned her family and her mother, brother, and grandma were all abusive towards her. Most of our relationship was long distance since I'm originally from Mexico but work in the US. But we could call, text, video chat every single day for hours and hours. I went to visit her as frequently as possible, and we even lost our virginities together. The whole time we were together, she always only wanted two things: to get out of her house and have a baby. We had our normal ups and downs, as in any couple, and so we dated and remained strong year after year. Cut forward to about July 2020, and we are still in somewhat of a toxic relationship. The last few months, Rosie has been begging me to just agree to marry her and get together this year when I went, but with the whole COVID situation, I was unsure if I would even be able to travel, so I would tell her repeatedly that I just don't want to talk about it, because whenever we did, we ended up fighting. By this point, she had really changed me as a person. I became more cold and uncaring, since before, when I was more sweet, she took advantage of me and would verbally abuse me. By this point, I had also become less tolerant and more intense with her. I had been in the US for a while, saving up money, because deep down, I really did want to be with Rosie, move in together, and start a life together. One day, while we were talking on the phone, as usual, she mentions that she wants to start working at a new place. Greenhouses, farming place. However, I say no, because that place is infamous for being toxic. Most of the people who work there are young, but involved in gangs and are drug addicts, alcoholics. Pretty much everyone who goes there ends up badly. How do I know? Because I have family members that work or worked there and came out drug addicts, alcoholics, pregnant, or all three. Well, she said fine, I won't go, and that was that. Over the next several months, I noticed several changes in her schedule. Her appearance, behavior, mannerisms, etc. Some days, she would take forever to answer my messages, which she used to answer quickly. She would reject all my calls, tell me she couldn't talk right now. She always had an excuse for everything. She would specifically tell me she needed to go at 8 p.m. every single night on the dot to, quote, take a shower and take some medication, and would get aggressive if I didn't want her to leave yet. She began receiving strange friend requests on her social media, including one from a guy that seemed off. She was never the type of girl to want to add guys to her social media, but she was really insistent on adding this one guy in particular. I asked why, and she said, because my mom says that he might be my cousin. It was a lie, but we'll get to that. She became very distant over time. Over all these months, I asked repeatedly what was going on and to just come clean, but she never did. Cut forward to last week, and I find out the horrible truth from some family members and friends. In July, she did start working there behind my back, but that's just the beginning. In August, she began hanging out with the wrong crowd. In September, she started talking to a guy we'll call Tony. Yep, you guessed it. Tony is the guy from the friend request. Tony is a huge drug addict and is family with local drug lords. How do I know? Because at the time, he was dating one of my cousins who he also got addicted to drugs. Well, I'm not sure of exactly when, but around that time, Rosie began using crystal meth as well as other drugs probably influenced by Tony. She created hidden social media accounts and began using a secondary phone so she could talk to Tony without me knowing about it. In October, Rosie began cheating on me with Tony, and Tony began cheating on my cousin with Rosie. I knew something had happened because 3 Fridays in a row, Rosie completely disappeared and ghosted me with the excuse of visiting family, but in reality, she was more than likely getting high and drunk with Tony and her friends. She also became increasingly more distant, and I would confront her, but she would just say it was her signal, etc. But in reality, it was because she was seeing Tony. October was also the month I let Rosie know that this year I wanted to get together with her and start our lives together. Right then and there, she could have confessed everything that had been going on, and maybe we could have saved everything. But no, she continued hiding everything and acted like nothing was happening. Throughout November and December, she would randomly disappear some days, including Christmas Eve, with the excuse that she was going to visit family and didn't get signal there. Of course, not being dumb, I called her number a few times and sent some texts to see if it was true. She had perfect reception. By this point, I had become paranoid because I knew something was happening, but she always had an excuse and made me feel like I was crazy. I became depressed and more aggressive towards her because I knew she was lying, but she always denied everything and said I saw things where there wasn't anything. But in reality, she had more than likely become Tony's new personal sex toy. All those nights when she was supposedly with family, she was actually going out to get drunk and high, and likely having sex with Tony. How could I tell? Well, the days after she would disappear, especially on Christmas Day, she was really out of it, like could barely talk and would complain about how tired and sleepy she was. But it was because she was hungover from drinking and using drugs the night before. Tony had done this to many girls in the past. He would get them addicted to drugs, then use that addiction to make it easier to have his way with them. The last 6 months of my life were a complete lie and filled with manipulation. At least since October, every day she would get high, drunk, make out with Tony, and at night, she would text, call, video chat with me. Sometimes while literally being there together with Tony, probably laughing at me. I know now for a fact she was with Tony sometimes when she was texting or talking to me on the phone. Sometimes she would be outside her house talking, making out, and getting touched by Tony, then would walk inside to video chat or call me. I also know she would sneak out of her house with the excuse of going to hang out with friends, but in reality, she was going with Tony more than likely to get high and have sex. She also more than likely snuck him into her house to have sex with him since her mom always got home later than she did, and she had snuck me in the past. A few times, I literally heard when they would tell her someone was looking for her, and when I asked who it was, she would say, "Oh, it was just some lady." No, it was Tony, and she would probably just tell him to wait a little while she talked to me. The entire time, I would constantly ask what was wrong because I could see something was wrong. She was getting skinnier and skinnier, and her mannerisms and body language changed. She began dressing more and more revealing. Before then, she had always dressed modestly. She would complain about being tired and sore, probably from being intimate with Tony. Sometimes, when we video chatted, her pupils would be dilated. A lot of days, she just seemed out of it and would say it was because she was sleepy. She would complain about headaches and had stomach pains, which were probably caused by her drug use. The list goes on. I told her on several occasions if she wanted to be with another guy, to just tell me honestly. I asked her point blank if she was having sex with another guy. I asked her point blank if she was using drugs. I asked her if she had hidden social media accounts. I also asked her how long she had really been working and where. She never confessed anything, not one thing, and lied or denied everything until the very end. Whenever I would ask her these things, she would get emotional and ask how I could think of her that way, and that she wasn't that type of girl. Finally, in late December, she began to slowly open up a little, and cracks in her story were forming. I asked her questions, and she would give vague answers, which sometimes implied something was going on. I pressed harder, and finally she admitted that she worked at that place, but said she had only worked there since November. She also admitted she worked with Tony, and that she did feel something for him, but said that she would never act on it because she knew what she felt for me was love, and that she wouldn't throw away all those years for what was probably just a little passing crush. I asked her if she had talked to him, and she said no. I asked how she could have a crush on someone she never supposedly talked to. She said, "Oh, I don't know, he just seems like he's a nice guy." I then asked if she knew what Tony wanted with her, and she responded with, "I don't know, haven't had the courage to ask him." Obviously, I was shocked by that answer, and told her if she wanted something with him, to just tell me, and we would break up, and she said no. I then asked how she knew so much about him, and she said, "Oh, a friend of mine told me about him." Of course, those were all just more lies. I told her I wanted her to quit that job, and she agreed to quit on New Year's. Honestly, at that point, I had pretty much had enough and was furious and knew that everything was just a huge lie and was pretty much just waiting for the inevitable. Funny thing is, she told me all this when she called me on Friday, December 18th. I would later go on to see a picture of them together on the same date that was literally taken while we were texting and a few minutes before we started talking on the phone. To this day, I'm not even 100% sure when exactly she started cheating. I just know it was sometime in October or September. Hell, She might have gone to work there just to meet up with him. At this point, who knows honestly? If she had hid this from me all this time, what else could she have been hiding? The only reason I found out what was really happening was because of my family members who worked there and some friends who had seen them together. Eventually, when I literally had pictures, screenshots proving everything, she still lied through her teeth and made up fake stories. She would tell me she loved me. She would tell me that she respected me. She would tell me that she would never replace me or find someone else. She would tell me she was 100% loyal to me. She would say that I was the love of her life. She would tell me I was the one and only, that I was her world, that she wanted a family and to spend her entire life with me. She would send me revealing pictures, saying they were for me, when in reality, they were for Tony. We would video chat, and she would show me her body and brag about how thin she was getting, and give me little shows all the while giving it all to Tony. Then we get to the worst part. How do I know she was trying to pin his baby on me? Well, she had always wanted a baby, and even went as far as lying about being on the pill, just so I would have sex with her with no protection, but I never let it happen. She more than likely did the same thing to Tony, and well, since Tony is known to not be a good person, if he didn't want anything to do with the baby, she would need a backup. Me. In early December, she randomly one day started talking dirt to me, telling me how the first night I arrived, she really wanted to have sex with me. But it had to be with no protection, so it would be special, and it had to be on the day I got there. Sounds suspicious? She was always sexually inexperienced, but suddenly, she was talking about all sorts of things that I'm not going to get into the details of. Also, throughout December, she would tell me she had stomach pains and discomfort, but when asked why, she would say she didn't know. On December 28th, we were all good talking about how soon we would be together and start a life together. Then, on December 29th, she randomly texts me saying we need to talk and basically tries every excuse under the sun to break up with me, but ends up saying she just wants a break and that soon she would be back and we could talk. On December 30th, I found out everything and cut off anything to do with her. Then, 2 days later on January 1st, she left and moved in with Tony. Why would Tony actually get together with someone when he had done the same thing to many girls before Rosie? Last time we had contact, she mentioned she quit using meth and was going to have blood work and tests done. So what happened? Well, on December 29th, she more than likely took a pregnancy test, which came up positive, and probably told Tony. If he wanted to be with her, then she would break up with me, and if he didn't, well, she would break up with him and let me get there without ever knowing anything. Now they are living together and probably going to marry soon. Or who knows, maybe she was just trying to decide which of the two of us she liked more than the other. Maybe Tony told her it was him or me and to choose one, but either way, 4+ years together and she replaced me in like 4 months. I was with her for 2+ years before we ever had sex. I also respected her and waited for her to be ready, but she gave it up to Tony in less than 2 months, more than likely even less. So now here I am, broken and left in pieces. I can't sleep at night because of the horrible mental images of them together. I miss the Rosie I once knew, not the monster that is there now. Meth and bad influences changed her. The worst part is, I even feel a little guilty for everything that happened. In late September, I had a chance to go to Mexico with one of my brothers, but I didn't go because I thought I needed more money. Plus, I thought, she waited on me this long, 3 more months is nothing. Perhaps if I had gotten there at that point, I could have prevented the cheating, and maybe gotten there in time to prevent her from actually getting addicted. I know I left her alone down there for a long time, but it's not like I wasn't there every day texting, calling, video chatting with her. This year, I know I was hard on her, and towards the end, I was much meaner and would yell at her a lot, but it was because I was tired of being manipulated, and I knew she was lying to my face. She made it that way after years of being with her. If she was really unhappy, she should have just told me honestly that we should break up. There is no excuse for her terrible behavior or terrible life choices. I know at the end of the day, she's still a monster, and she made all those choices herself, and she could have chosen to walk a straight path, confessed everything, or at least break up with me before starting to really cheat. But still I find myself wishing I could go back and go to Mexico then. She waited faithfully for years, but she couldn't wait a few more months? There are no excuses for what she put me through. I have thought about suicide on several occasions, but I know it's only a matter of time before she collapses. She always had health issues, so I can only imagine what the drugs are doing to her body, especially if she really is pregnant. That's not even mentioning the people she got involved with. So is it wrong of me to blame myself for what happened? I know I was cold and intense with her for a while, but it was because I was tired of always being lied to and manipulated. I'm on antidepressants and sleeping medication, and I start therapy on Monday. There is a lot going on in this story. Let's see what the Reddit community thought. Saint Logic starts off with, "You have no idea how much better off you are. I know you are feeling bad, but think about this. That baby is screwed. She's going to be a crack baby, and her mom is the definition of a crack you-know-what. It sucks what it does to people, but you warned her and she chose this path in her life. Forget about her. It was most likely going to end up a dumpster fire eventually. Daddy problems and an abusive upbringing is not your role to fix. The issue with mental disorders brought on by trauma is that while they are not at fault for the trauma, however, it certainly is their fault if they don't get help. She doesn't want your help and is a lost cause. Go forward in your life and leave her behind. And don't worry about Tony. He's already a loser. One of these days, he will be found in a ditch. That's just how these things go." The OP comes back with, "Trust me, I know. I grew up in a rough place, and once you get into that life, especially down in Mexico, there's only one way out. Death. Either by OD, drug complications, health issues, gang violence, police brutality, etc. She chose her path. No one forced her to do anything. She made her choices." The White Terrier says, "The person you knew is gone, and she isn't coming back. All there is now is a monster. Even if she comes out of it, cleans up, and truly were to try to come back, it wouldn't be the person you knew, but someone else who looks like her. Right now, you hurt because you know she's gone, but she's been gone for quite a while. Find positive activities and set your life on a new course. Someday, you'll find someone who will make your life complete." The OP comes back with, "That's the hardest part, letting go of the person I used to know and seeing the monster that's there now. I know her situation will end badly because I could see her physically deteriorating with the passing of time. If the drugs don't get her, the people she involved herself with will. I wouldn't be surprised if I find out she died in a few months or years. As for me, I'm seeking help both medically and psychologically." Flea81 is encouraging with, "You will find true love one day. She will be your best friend, lover, and partner. This pain will pass, and in time you will look back and know you dodged a bullet. Drugs, and actually any kind of addiction, will change a person. Have faith in the fact that you will come out of this stronger and wiser. The hard part is not looking at every relationship you get into like the one you just left. Focus on yourself for a while. Good luck, and best of wishes to you in the future." EOP wraps this up today with, "Thank you for the kind words. Yes, they really do change people both mentally and physically. I saw it happen firsthand right in front of me. The pain is slowly passing, but the depression and loneliness are really kicking in, but hopefully therapy will help. Therapy."